Kublai pi barok ki bape kini ke video ni pilihan sebaik pi share ni ke channel ke Tech Tutor Meghalaya balapan mi da ke SCSTE. Kerteng jangan kalong iba pedia hun kongwer but hakan ni ke porpat ngan batai pi shapang ke electric field intensity on any point on the equatorial line due to an electric dipole. Te kumbangi tip uni di u dipole badan plus Q but u minus Q. The on the actual line ile hakan ni ke day along this line kum tu. This is actual line. This is along the actual line. On the equatorial line part, shubu hang ni the center of the electric dipole. On the equatorial line part, around this line which is perpendicular, alright, to the electric dipole, alright. At any point on this line, it could be here, it could be here, hang no ro, kadai along this line. Alright, uni line not only but along perpendicular, and along perpendicular at the center. Alright, at the center of the dipole. Alright, the uni line along perpendicular. Alright, a line that is perpendicular at the center. Alright, of the dipole. Uni ishkat utau equatorial line. Okay, so once again, hang ni. Electric field intensity at any point, how to equatorial line, okay, jong u dipole. Then now we consider an electric dipole again comprising of charge minus Q and plus Q is separated by a distance 2a such that the electric dipole moment is P. Take an idea to formula join electric dipole moment, P is equal to Q into 2a. The hanging consider only minus Q done at this point A, okay, done at point A, and then this plus Q is at point B. New point O, their center jo electric dipole jangi. Then now, let P be a point on the equatorial line. Then tangan draw your equatorial line. Okay, along perpendicular at the center of the dipole. Keep in mind, only do along perpendicular. Okay, dengan shim. Yeah, point P hang ni. This is my point P. Alright, this point P. Alright, this point P is at a distance, R from the center, alright, of the dipole. Take a what? This distance here from point P up till point O. Alright, this distance they are. Then find the electric field at point P due to plus Q at B. Nakadaw new plus Q. Electric field at this point kanong kumno. You use to formula for E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, okay, charging it Q divided by R square. Once again, near R square do A. We distance, alright, between the charge and between point P. Then distance between the charge and P, alright, getting a distance P, B, alright. So therefore, I'll write here P, B square. Fine? Then ini pet uni PB ke distance ke equal kat no. Te kumbangi la adaptive ba from point O to point P, alright? The distance they are from O, alright? Ado B ke distance they A, alright? Half of 2A which is A. Biangam? Therefore any distance PB ngan yo kumno. Nganyo na kabapanan kam niya ka Pythagoras theorem. Alright, the Pythagoras formula. According to Pythagoras formula, know that the hypotenuse square is equal to perpendicular square plus base square. Alright, so therefore PB square is equal to OP square plus OB square. What is OP? OP is R square. What is OB? OB is A square. Now, PB is equal to, alright, R square plus A square root over. Dangara square, syatai silyang unkala root. Ini bu hang ni, tambah keep in mind, kani PB, I'm just finding mo nga what lupa ni PB di kanong yin sa penankam shibit. For now, ngadan kam ya PB square hang ni. Tingin substitute kan? Therefore, E1, alright, near the E1, electric field E1. E1 is equal, therefore, E1 is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, alright, Q divided by R square plus A square. Okay? Alright? Dia mentang nyepit pada ke direction jang uni u electric field ke dia syai. Dia kembang tip, ba u charge, u de u plus charge, ba ke direction jang u charge, u balong plus, kalong bit away from the charge. Keep in mind, it's away from the charge. Kade away from the charge. Nah, tak ada ke direction jang electric field. Ngalak bentho, alright, ngan extend new line syani. This is my E1 point away, alright, away from the charge. So, dia mentapan, ini the only direction of E1 is along, alright, maybe I can name this point here T again, is along PT, alright, E1 vector is along PT vector. Then now next, we find the electric field at point P due to minus Q at A. If you need only minus Q, you find that due to this charge, alright, electric field can dekat no at point. Again, you use the formula. This time I'm gonna write E2 is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by R square. R square again, getting a distance between minus Q and point P. So I'm going to join from A up to point P. Now that is the distance between the minus charge and the point P. Hang di ngan tho from A P square. Alright. Tingin nyepit again minta in this triangle again. In this triangle AOP. Alright. You knew AP ngalak banyut akan come again ya ka? Pythagoras theorem ka ba? Hypotenuse square is equal to perpendicular square plus base square. Alright. You OP at the tip day is equal to R, whereas OA, this distance is equal to A again. Okay? So therefore, AP squared is equal to OP square plus OA square. OP square jingi OP day R square plus OA square jingi day A square. In other words, AP also ngalabantho as root over, right, R square plus A square. Keep in mind, hani adan kami u AP square, and AP square is equal to this value. Dengan substitute nomenta, therefore, E2 is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by R square plus A square. Okay? Tingnan dika magnitude jang A2. The direction per kandai kumno. Ti kumbangi latte baga direction jang negative charge is always towards the charge. Alright, towards the charge. Ti na taga daw ka direction jang E hangni kandai this direction towards the charge. This is my E. Ti hangni the fiped, alright, at point P. Kadan ke electric field kaba point away from the charge kumto siya ti siya jang. Nang tadi, kadang ke electric field pa kaba point siya ni siya po, E2. So, at point P, fiinam dan artlik electric field ki back in different directions, right? Tiban find ya ka resultant, yin haben use ke A, yin haben use ka to ka resultant formula, lada fidangkan mau, balada theta, ude angle between A vector and B vector, resultant yo da ka ba, use ka formula R is equal to root over A square plus B square plus 2AB cos theta. Tikum ju kani ka bangi kelmengi dan R3 vector kabade E1 vector and E2 vector. Okay, to E1 jungi ude A, E2 jungi ude B. So therefore ka resultant dangi ken your root over, okay, E1 square plus E2 square plus 2E1 E2 cos of theta. Alright, to this theta kumbang laong ketika angle between A and B vector, that means the angle between E1 vector and E2 vector. Tingin nyepit menta what is the angle between E1 and E2? Ti hang ni shubo ladang asin ke angle hang ni at angle B ke angle de theta. Okay, Then hang ne this angle is also equal to theta. So pilaban kaya nga kumno ka day theta. The reason why is hang ne ka distance PB nilai E is equal to root over R square plus A square. This PB is equal to root over R square plus A square. The fifth can make a length AP also. AP is also root over R square plus A square. So this AP is also equal to root over R square plus A square. Therefore, this triangle, uday triangle uday isosceles triangle habadan artli ki sides ki belong equal. In an isosceles triangle, there is not only two equal sides, but there is also two equal angles. And these are the two equal angles. Okay? There. Minta, subut nga draw ini in line. Okay? Ini in line. Alright? And this line, alright? Ulong parallel to AB. Alright? And this line is parallel to AB. So the angle at this point is equal to theta. Reason why is, the reason why this angle and this angle, they are corresponding angles. If this line is parallel to this line, then this line acts as a transversal. So therefore, these two angles are equal. Also, if you look at this angle and this angle, what type of angles are they? Kideki. Once again, you have parallel line and this acts as transversal. So these two angles, they act as alternate angles. So therefore, this angle here is also theta. Alright. Temantang latip, the angle between E1, alright. This is my E1 here pointing in that direction, and this is my E2 here pointing in this direction. The angle kadika no kaday theta plus theta, which is 2 theta. Alright, so therefore hangni cos, alright, angle can they not cos of 2 theta. Okay, the hangni but it is evident that E1 is equal to E2. Alright, E1 getting a value. Alright, and back in E2 is also the same. Alright, the resultant of the electric field is given by A is equal to root over, right, E1 square plus E2 square plus 2E1 E2 cos of 2 theta. Okay? There now. So E is equal to root over E1 square plus Hajaka jonu E2 square kumunglaong, but since E1 is equal to E2, I can write again E1 square and plus 2E1 and jong E2, again I'm going to write E1 cos 2 theta. So E is equal to root over 2E1 square plus 2E1 square. E1 into E1 long E1 square cos 2 theta. And E is equal to root over 2E1 square nga ala ba common benta. Alright, here rungadan 2E1, hang ni rungadan 2E1. In bracket now, I am left with 1 plus cos 2 theta. Okay? From trigonometry, we know that 1 plus cos 2 theta, right, is equal to 2 cos square theta. Alright, can you take a formula that you learned from maths, from trigonometry? Okay, so therefore, E is equal to root over 2E1 square. Instead of writing 1 plus cos 2 theta, I'm going to write 2 cos square theta. Otherwise, I can write it as root over, simplify again, 2 into 2 along 2 square, E1 square, cos square theta. If all these terms, they have squares, so therefore they will cancel with the root, and finally have 2A1 cos theta. Okay? Dia minta nginya what is this cos theta? Okay, what is cos theta? The cos theta nginya minta from the diagram ke dikumno. They combine latte by cos theta ka formula de base by hypotenuse. If we look at this triangle, nila unpet unit triangle lane unit compare. So let me look at this one. Okay, unit triangle hang ne. So cos of this angle theta is equal to base. Which one is my base? My base is OB. All right, and my base by hypotenuse, and my hypotenuse is this PB. Okay, so on top menta cos is equal to OB by PB. What is OB? OB jong ka value de A. Alright, and value jong PB de root over R square plus A square. Okay, the minta, let me name this equation 1. Minta ngin substitute hagatik equation 1. Right, so therefore E is equal to 2 into E1. E1 ring adapted ka value of E1 is this one. Okay, 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by R square plus A square. So on top here, jika on top E1, on top 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by R square plus A square. And jika jong cos theta on top ni ka value ang ni ka bang adap yo. Alright, ka long A divided by root over R square plus A square. Okay, dimintang and simplify. Alright, A is equal to dimintang in pet hang ni again V in and dot ni up 2 into Q into A. What is 2 into Q into A? This value is equal to P, which is your dipole moment. So I can write here 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. Okay, so wrong on top naught tang. P divided by, alright, what is this value? R plus A square into root over R square plus A square. And if you use laws of indices, to R square plus A square into root over R square plus A square. If you use laws of indices, nila aban express it as R square plus A square, R square plus A square whole thing to the power 1 by 2. So since they have the same base, what do you do? What do you do with the powers? Ye ki powers habadan ga jo base ye ki powers ni add. So power hang ni day 1. So 1 plus 1 by 2. So if you add igate, you can see your R square plus A square whole thing to the power 3 by 2. Alright. So this value where you multiply R square plus A square into root over R square plus A square, can value for your R square plus A square whole thing to the power 3 by 2. Okay. Then for R square plus A square whole thing to the power 3 by 2. Alright. But once again, alright, for an electric dipole, new A urit palative as compared to R. So therefore, you A square nilaban kumno nilaban neglect no, and nilaban tho A is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught P divided by R square whole thing to the power 3 by 2. Alright, the hang ni flaban A new 2, but new 2 ngalaban cancel. So finally I have E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, alright, P divided by R cube. The value, expression in magnitude, jonka electric field at a point on the equatorial line. Okay. So the direction jongni result in electric field intensity, alright, is given by this expression. If E hang by E is equal to minus 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught P by R cube into P cap. Kabamut kumno. Mu P cap is a unit vector, alright, kaba point ka direction jong electric dipole moment. There nga thok minus kamut kumno, kamut mark hongpong. Tigin yapit minta ka direction jong uni dipole moment ka desha A, the direction jong electric field kalong mark hongpong ni ka direction jong uni dipole moment. The direction to dipole moment is always from negative to positive. So this So this is the direction John dipole moment P, alright? The dipole moment P point from A to B, alright? Electric field at this point here, alright? Go point from P in the opposite direction, shani, alright? So therefore, the resultant electric field today in this direction. This is the direction of it. Okay? There, kaniye deka vector form jo ka electric field, alright, on the equatorial line. Okay? Timinta part yang bataya fish dia aku point out ka relation jo ka electric field on the axial but ka electric field on the dipole. Kung bangila dapyo ka expression jo ka axial line kade 1/4 pi epsilon naught 2p by r cube. Alright? Dengan ye, but ka expression jo ka E equatorial kade 1/4 pi epsilon naught p by r cube. Timinta na shim ka E axial divided by E equatorial ng yo kumno. Te hang tuang adap thought kini expression bro atli, but hang ni fila ban iba ngila ban pom this expression with this expression. Tinanta de new r cube, but r cube ngila ban pom p, but p ngila ban pom basa ade stang u 2. E axial, alright, divided by E equatorial is equal to 2. Tani ngala ban ong ba E axial is equal to 2 times the electric field on the equatorial line. Kamut ayu kaniye, kamut paladang adon point P, alright, on the axial line, alright, which is at a distance r from the center of the dipole. Electric field on the axial line 2 point P, alright, shubong adon draw here again dipole plus Q and then minus Q. This is my center O. Adang adon point P, which is at a distance. Okay, shubong distance. This is my point P. This is my distance R. Let's say distance R ngan either ka value, alright. Let's say the value day 3 centimeters. Alright. Tadang adon pada so point P again this is point P1. I have a point P2 here on the equatorial Mendasian part. And the same thing, this distance here is 3 centimeter. Alright. They ladang abu uni point on the axial line, ladang abu point on the equatorial line. Okay, at which point electric field kalong more stronger? Electric field on the axial line kalong double electric field on the equatorial line. Kapag ba a charge on the axial line will experience, alright, a stronger electric field banya u charge wadan hao equatorial line. But ngang it's kem pilas ngoto eka tu kajing batay paro tinga say shampal pi hakawi ka video hakabangan batay pat sa shapangka electric field intensity at any point. At any point kabamdera on the equatorial ne bamdera how you actual rule at any point at all, alright, due to a dipole. Kublish.